someone else is here, you can let him in.
Hello,
Let him
come on in.
Come on in. I'm just
Just giving a few remarks to the team here, so you came at the right moment.
I muscled him out of his
So, the only thing that changed were these videos. Outlets in India and China covered the story, and our social media exploded like never before. Our employees and board members' Twitter accounts also exploded like never before. Pfizer even put out a non-denial denial, like you always capture these things, where they basically admitted they were mutating the virus, albeit they buried this admission in jargon. But it was still an admission. And it was extraordinary that Pfizer responded to us with an admission, not denying that this guy was who he was.
Whole new level.
What an amazing turn of events.
He was just trying to date somebody.
That is the only thing that's changed in 13 years of me being who I am.
Journalistic excellence.
And then suddenly,
tell him,
an unusual emergency happened just a few days after that.
Tell him, James.
I think we have one more person here.
He ate a woman's sandwich. Don't let him forget.
So suddenly, an unusual, and I'm going to take you through this.
Pregnant woman.
I'm going to take you through what happened.
You take us through it.
Some of you don't know these things.
No, we don't. How would we know?
We're talking about the story we broke. An unusual emergency happened. On Thursday, February 2nd, that's a few days after the Pfizer story, I was informed by an officer of Project Veritas on the phone while en route to the airport that he would resign unless I stepped down as CEO. We've been having a conflict of visions, him and I, over fundraising. Are we in fundraising here? I guess no one from fundraising is here. There were tactical disagreements about the boldness of approaches soliciting donations. I was told, and I'm paraphrasing, by asking for X dollars right now, you will prevent 10X dollars down the road. That advice ran contrary to everything I knew to be true in my 13 years of fundraising. But that conflict was even more fundamental.
We were in the
and essentially boiled down to this, and my vision, I'm going to paraphrase Howard Rourke, the architect, quote, I don't build in order to have donors. I have donors in order to build. That's what I believed, and I felt like we had a conflict of visions. We don't measure our success only in terms of how much money we bring in. We measure our success in terms of our impact. Remember Acorn? I don't think I raised a single dollar off that. I had a stack of media coverage to the ceiling. We measure our success in terms of what we produce, not just in terms of our wallets. That was a pretty fundamental conflict, I felt. The day prior, I had informed him in front of his colleagues that if he wasn't willing to follow my lead, he'd be shown the door. I tried to deal with it privately, but I was unsuccessful, and the disagreement boiled over publicly in a staff meeting. The next day, this individual refused to resign, so I fired him. Later that same day, that's Thursday, February 2nd, a few days after the 50 million viewed Pfizer videos, I was informed by a different officer of Project Veritas that he would go to the board in a few hours from that moment and have an emergency vote to restructure this company. Receiving an agenda in my email while I was sitting on an airplane tarmac with the doors closing, the meeting was scheduled for the moment that my plane landed in Nashville. It became clear to me in that moment I would be removed from my position at Project Veritas by the time I landed at my destination. I bet you didn't know that. I have a copy of the emergency meeting here for you guys to take a look at. It's in writing. You could read it. You don't have to be there. You can read the minutes. They're official board minutes. They're written by a lawyer.
Sneaky.
My first question on the phone to this guy, my colleague, as I was staring at this agenda when the stewardess was asking me to get off the phone, was, quote, what are we going to tell our supporters if I'm removed from my position? I think that's the first question. I had 100 questions, but that was the first one. My colleague, who is an officer of Project Veritas, responded by saying our supporters wouldn't have to find out. Sounds like something you would get in the Claire McCaskill campaign. It sounds like something you'd expose. I was so shocked by this, and again, the stewardess was asking me to get off the phone. I guess you could say that I was in a state of complete shock. How would our supporters not be informed of such an enormous thing?
Well, they don't find out.
It was a lapse in judgment so severe that it was itself a fireable offense to make a statement like that. It was a lapse in judgment so severe, it was impossible to hide my removal from my position at Veritas to anybody. As the CEO and chief fundraiser, I have to explain the context of my role to thousands of people, 300 days a year on the road, while soliciting them.
This guy has been doing this shit for a while, and we don't have any journalists. What do we have? We got a bunch of woke fucking implant socialists. Got the whole media is just fraught with hacks and bullshit. Lies and deeper lies. Got my stuff locked out. They jacked his ass from his show. He started causing problems to the system lords. So they started putting back pressure on him. Waited till he got on the plane, had to turn his fucking phone off to have a meeting to oust his ass. And then be like, oh, I'm going to let you go. We're going to remove you from your leadership position. He built that company. He's been busting balls. Now he's got a bunch of puss-ass bitches in his fucking organization, Project Veritas. Feel you, bro. I don't know what he's doing. Looks like he's going to have to shut it down. Looks like he's shutting it down with him at the head. Maybe he'll start something else himself. He's not done. He just hit the apex. That video where he has that guy running about the place. Well, let's take a look at it. It's great. The dude says, "There's too many white people around me."